morning, daughter.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
One of the vendors had this little squishy
Ooh.
stress ball. And it's like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Like Flo and I found them, and like the booth wasn't attended, so we just like went up and took them, and then we were both just walking around yesterday.
I need to make my rounds to find my gift for my daughter. I always take one of
Yeah.
the things. She's like, "What'd you give me this time?"
What are these little squishy stress balls?
Mm-hmm.
It's delightful.
I'll do the talkie thing.
Go for it.
Hi, everybody. Are we awake? I have a Red Bull in there. I'm gonna crack open in a minute. So, yeah. So housekeeping notes, same as the last sessions. Turn your phones on silent, please, or at least make it a fun ringtone if you're gonna do it, so we can have a dance party. I'm fine with photography. Are you fine with photography? Okay, so we're both cool with that. If you're gonna put anything on social media, please use hashtag ABRF2026. This is not a good start to this presentation. I can't speak today. Don't forget to use the app. The app is year-round. So use it as a way to tag people that you're like, ooh, I saw something about them, or they said something that's really cool. I need to tag them, and I can reach out to them later. Most of all of our contact information is in there if they so chose to allow it. If not, just slide into their DMs and reach out to them. We are definitely a very communicative, supportive, appreciative group. So if you don't need something from us, we probably need something from you. And then there will be an evaluation survey for the sessions, but also for the whole meeting. If we mess something up, I'm on the program planning committee. So if we mess something up, let us know. And then I'm just going to do a quick plug for the DEIB Council. We are both on it, and this was one of our presentations that kind of came out of it. If you are interested in being on the DEIB Council or hearing more about it, reach out to me, reach out to Sin, and Mary Wynn is also another great person to reach out to. And then we're also having a DEIB luncheon. Is that today?
Yep,
That's today. See, look at me. So come hang out. We're just gonna eat and chat and commiserate or learn new pronouns or learn new vocabulary. You know, living the dream. Ready?
Okay. So, hey, I'm short. I get to move things. It's fine. Okay. So this session is being recorded. The way this is going to be working is I'm just going to give like a brief little couple things of what is self-advocacy, why should you advocate for yourself, and just a little bit of tips and tricks to think about. And then we're just going to go into scenarios. The best way, in my experience, to really develop your skills as a self-advocate is to just practice. So we're going to be going through these scenarios as a group, and in your little circle table groups as well. So this is being recorded, so just keep that in mind if you're going to be using real life examples. Make sure to keep identifying information out of that if you don't want that on the recording for everyone to see. I'll be doing that as well because I do have some of my own examples. So speak up, even if your voice shakes. It can be really terrifying to speak up. You feel like a burden, a nuisance, and you're afraid of whatever pushback you're going to get. It's still worth it. If your voice shakes, it's okay. You're still going through the process, right? So I'm Tope Niedermaier. My pronouns are they, them. I'm a core manager at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Also,
I'm Megan. I'm gonna be better. Oh, it is on. Yeah. I'm Meghan Kraft. I'm at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Wow, I'm used to saying UNC Chapel Hill. The long one gets difficult. And I am the Director of Research Core Facilities at UNC, so not in science. I'll talk a lot of administration, though, if you want to hear about it. Sorry, she, her.
So self-advocacy at its most basic level is the ability to speak up for yourself. It's pretty self-explanatory in the name of self-advocacy. So why is it important to advocate for yourself? Your needs matter. Doesn't matter what everyone else needs. Well, kind of. But your needs matter as well. Your preferences matter. You know your needs better than anybody else. No one knows you better than you do. You have a right to a respectful and safe work environment. What that looks like, no one knows better than you do. If you do not advocate for that, do not communicate what that is for you, no one's going to know. And if you advocate for yourself, you are able to get feedback from others that will help you to grow and flourish. And self-advocacy is something that is really uncomfortable, especially in our field of being kind of more service-oriented. People always say the customer is always right, let them do whatever they want. It's not true. If you are not advocating for your needs in that relationship, it's not going to be comfortable for anybody. So what does self-advocacy look like? It can be as simple as just saying no. That's why the title of this is No is a Complete Sentence, because it is. You don't owe anybody an explanation. If all you are comfortable saying is, no, I can't do that, that's all you have to say. You don't have to be like, well, no, I can't do that because I have this other thing going on in my life. And there's this tendency to want to explain why your answer is no, to kind of help them feel a little bit better about why you're saying no. The anxiety of the rejection, because that's what you would feel if you heard someone say no. I am autistic. I am also a very anxious being. You'll see me shaking a lot. I like to move my hands a lot because that's just what helps me. I'm also a non-binary person, trans-masc, so you'll see that I have to advocate for myself a lot, which is why this is particularly important to me, because I have to set boundaries a lot, and that's what self-advocacy can look like. It can be really uncomfortable to set that boundary. It's hard to be like, no, I really don't want to talk about that. I don't feel comfortable discussing this at this time. Can we revisit it in an hour? And it can be as simple as, hey, I don't have the spoons. My staff will hear me say that all the time. I don't have the spoons right now. Can we come back to this when I'm maybe a little bit better prepared to discuss this? You can ask for help, which can be uncomfortable because that's like admitting a failure, that you're not able to do the thing, and it can make people, you think that people will think less of you, but that's okay. Asking for help is okay. It's how we grow, how we develop new skills. Not everyone knows everything all of the time. Self-advocacy is a skill to develop. That's why we're all here today. Stating your rights and needs. Again, no one knows you better than you do. You need to say what you need in that moment, as well as voicing your thoughts and concerns. Self-advocacy doesn't need to be this big old fanfare of going into HR and being like, I need this. It can be as simple as, hey, I'm just going to go step over here for a second. I have a room in my lab that I deem the quiet room and the sensory room, where it's so quiet in there. I love that. It's my room. Let's be honest. And it's where my staff and I will go if we just need a moment. And sometimes self-advocacy can just be, hey, I'm just gonna go step outside for a second because I'm feeling a lot of emotions right now. I'm feeling really stressed out. And that can help reground you so that you can continue to perform better. You'll hear me talk about things in an emotional context because that's what I deal with, and why I need to advocate the most is because of how I display my emotions. So there are other things that you can advocate for. We'll go through that through our scenarios of different situations that can pop up. So tips to self-advocacy. Number one, and in my opinion, one of the most important is know your worth and your strengths, because everyone has them. No one is without any worth or without any strength. Those strengths can all look different, but also be aware of your room for improvements. I don't like the word weaknesses. Sure, there's places that you're not as strong, but you have room to improve. It's not a, I just don't like the word weakness. It just sounds very negative to me. If you know your worth and your strengths and your room for improvements, it's going to be a lot easier in order to advocate for yourself in terms of if you're looking for a pay raise or a promotion and wanting to advocate for that, know what you're good at, because you're good at a lot. If you go into that and say, hey, I'm bringing in this amount of money, look at all these customers that we've brought in for the facility, can we get this? This will help us with, this is the place in our facility that we need to grow a little bit, so can we get this piece of equipment to help us grow this? Understand your goals. They're not all going to be the same across all of your staff. Everyone that you work with, your customers, they're not going to be the same. So know kind of what you're going towards can help to inform how you're going to advocate for yourself. Know your rights in the workspace, because there are laws such as the ADA, Title IX, etc. I'm sure most of our workplaces make us go through trainings on ADA, Title IX. Know what rights you have. For example, in my past, I have faced a lot of discrimination that has come along with ADA and Title IX because of autism, ADHD, and then Title IX because of my gender presentation. I faced a lot of discrimination from supervisors in graduate school, and being able to go to them and be like, hey, this isn't okay. You shouldn't talk to me like that. It goes against Title IX, and I don't want to push this any further. Can we meet somewhere? And knowing those offices in your workspace, whether that's on your campus or within your company, that help to navigate those challenges that come along with ADA, Title IX, so on and so forth. Typically that's your HR, can be an ombudsman, anyone. Know who they are so that if you have that issue, you know who to contact before you need it. Remember that others are most likely not acting with malintent. It's very rare that you find somebody that is purposely trying to hurt you. That's not normally the case. People work with good intentions most of the time, but sometimes we misinterpret the way things are said. I'm a worrier. I will read everything into what you say, and so I like things written out. And so I'll often come after a conversation like, hey, can you just send me a quick email with what we just talked about? Because that way I can look back at the actual words you said instead of the ones that I emotionally connected to. And then, yeah. Set and maintain your boundaries. I love a good boundary. All of my friends will tell you that I love a boundary, and that's just me. It can be really uncomfortable though, to set a boundary because it feels like, can feel like a rejection, that you're not trying to be helpful, that you're being rude. But it's good. It's my brain's not working today, guys. It's fine. Communicate clearly, professionally, and with confidence. Things can be misinterpreted. So if you're really vague in what you're saying, it can be misread. People leave with the wrong impression. So instead of saying something like, this workload is ridiculous, I can't keep doing this, go in and try to say something a little bit more clearly, like, I've noticed my workload has increased significantly. I want to make sure that I'm delivering high quality work. Can we revisit our priorities and deadlines? The first sentence of, I can't keep doing this, that tells me that you're not willing to work anymore, that you're on the verge of quitting. I shouldn't put much more effort into you, and I need to start looking elsewhere. But the second of, can we just revisit priorities and deadlines? I want to have high quality work. That shows initiative, that shows effort, that shows a willingness to perform. But we maybe just need to go back and see where maybe things can be taken away and sent somewhere else. Be comfortable being uncomfortable. It's a really weird sentence, but it's true. Self-advocating is not a comfortable feeling. It is not comfortable to talk about your needs and wants. I do it all the time, and every time I get really nervous and shaky. But gotta be willing to go into that discomfort to advocate for your needs. A couple more things. There's no way to reduce all risk. You're gonna go into a situation being like, oh, if this goes south, I'm gonna be out of my job. I'm not gonna get that promotion. They're gonna start looking elsewhere, things like that. There's always that risk. What's more important? Usually, advocating for yourself is the more important of the avenues. It's about balancing that risk. And then practice, 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 which is what we're gonna do today. So these are all kinds of things to keep in mind when advocating for yourself. And I did that in about the 15 minutes I wanted. So Megan's going to get us started on some scenarios that we'll all just talk about together.
Yeah. So my background is in relational leadership, and I love a good group discussion. And so for the most part, it looks like the tables have a few people, but if you have maybe only 2 people at your table, if you can kind of merge to one of the others, the more voices, the more experiences that you have in these conversations, the more you're gonna get out of it, I swear. I swear. Oh, see, now we're hitting buttons. Oop, okay. So we're gonna go through 3 different scenarios. They are different in sort of the advocacy lens that you're looking in. They're different in the types of experience that the person might be currently feeling. And there's, power dynamics in some of these. So we are going, I'll probably read it aloud. And I just thought about this. I've done this thing for a long time, but you're not going to see this again. So if you have highlights that you want to write down, definitely do. And then the next page is we're going to go into the workshopping of the scenario. So we'll be talking about defining the issue. What are the risks and the goals? As Sin said, sometimes it's weighing the balance of, am I too worried about what the outcome of this is going to be that I don't want to go into it? I will say for me personally, and this is just my personal experience, the more I make myself uncomfortable, the less uncomfortable I become. So the more that I put myself in the conversations and I advocate for myself, the less I really care. And so now, as some of you who do know me and have experienced me, I have zero filter. So if I feel a certain type of way, then you will know. And so I had actually put that first quote up about speak up even if your voice shakes, because that's exactly what my experience was. I'm just going to have a quick 2 seconds of my specific scenario and what kind of got me into this work and why I think it's so important. So you might not know this if you don't know me. I am a lesbian. My wife and my 2 children are the light of my life. I started at UNC Chapel Hill, welcome to the South, right when I met my wife. And I was there, I was doing really well, I was kicking butt and taking names, and I got engaged. My wife proposed to me. And I'm walking around with my engagement ring on, and everybody's like, oh my God, you're gorgeous. Your husband has to be so cute. Yeah. Okay. And at first, with that shaky voice, I was like, do I really want to create a stigma? This is also 15 years ago. Do I want to create this? Do I want people to look at me differently? Do I want them to say, like, oh, okay. So for a while, I said nothing. I was just like, hey, okay. And then as I was planning my wedding, I was also working full-time, going through grad school. I was exhausted at all times, and my filter slowly just fell away because I was so tired, I didn't care. And so then I would get more and more people who would be like, oh my God, and I'm like, my wife is gorgeous, y'all. Okay? She cute. And it just kind of slowly snowballed. And, you know, you go to a new department, you go to a new area, and then you start getting those questions again because they don't know you. And then I had 2 beautiful children. And the amount of times that I will show people my children, and they'll be like, oh, my children are biracial, but on purpose. Because they cute. I knew what I was doing. But the amount of times that I will open up my phone and they're like, oh, is your wife black? No, she white as hell. She's Southern white, like banjo white. But we have 2 beautiful babies. And we are constantly probably being harder on ourselves than we should. 2 white moms with biracial children in the South, upper middle class. I'm like, did we think this through? And we did, very much. It's not the world any of us thought we were going to be living in 2026. We weren't expecting our rights to be taken away. We weren't expecting, we were going forward, y'all, going forward. So I just want to say to that point, your voice might shake at first. But the more that you can advocate for yourself, the more it just becomes another statement. Becomes about talking about that the sky is blue or the grass is green. Just, it is what it is. And so you have to step into your own power and just continue to go through those shaky moments until you can get to where not only can you self-advocate, but you can advocate for others. So, all that to say. First scenario. You and your male colleague are comparing salaries when you discover a large pay discrepancy favoring your male colleague. You compare job titles, duties, responsibilities, work experience in order to identify why there is such a large disparity. Everything's the same. And in some cases, you are actually more favorable than them. You start to suspect that this pay discrepancy has less to do with the work-related reasons and more to do with your identity and your disability. You're concerned that requesting accommodations or flexibility is affecting their perceptions of your role and your commitment to leadership. How do you go about investigating what you suspect to be discrimination and advocate for your pay disparity? We are going to be using this same workshopping platform for all 3 scenarios. And from my opinion, again, from my background in relational leadership, this is really how you need to mentally go through all scenarios of self-advocacy. What are we even talking about here? Like, what is the issue at play? What are the risks or the goals for speaking up for yourself or for others? what is the strategy in doing that? Do you take them to the side? Do you do it in public? Do you wait until you cooled off and walked around? What is the best way to have that conversation? And then what exactly do you say? Do you tell them they're a dumbass? Do you tell them they should just go over there? Or do you explain? And to Sin's point, how much do you have to explain? Do you have to go into this whole, I have an ADA accommodation, or you don't understand, I have an invisible illness that you can't see, but it affects me on a day-to-day basis? And then bystander intervention, which is something we're touching on in this, but we will actually have a whole virtual series on bystander intervention, because for us, we really wanted you to focus on yourself. But for the future, thinking about this from the outside lens, you're the person at the table with these two people. What would you say if that was you? So you've got about 15, 20 minutes for these scenarios. So we really want you guys to sit at your table and kind of go through that scenario, which is, apologies, I can't have both of those slides up at the same time, but go through that scenario and kind of talk through, what is it that you would do? How are you each defining this issue? Some people might read this in a different way than others. And so this also helps you get other perspectives. Maybe what they might have been thinking is what the person next to you is when they're like, that doesn't seem like a big deal. And you're like, what are you talking? That's huge. What? You don't. So I'm gonna put on a timer. I'll walk around if you guys have any questions. But yeah, kind of go through this framework on this specific scenario, and we'll come back together. Cool? Any questions? Okay. Oh, I brought this up here to set on the timer. Yeah, I did say 20.
Yeah. My meds hadn't kicked in yet, so like my ADHD was just like, you forget every word you were going to say.
You could have tagged me in, you know that.
I know.
I can talk to anybody. I can talk to a rock. It's still important. They still heard the message. So.
Was it frazzled? Absolutely. Is that my favorite thing that I've ever done? Nope.
Did they potentially not even notice? Yep.
Yep. It's fine.
I'm gonna just walk around and see if anybody has questions.
Yeah.
And these new people came in, so I might tell them to go to another table. exactly.
I know
Me
exactly
too.
which one.
Yeah, me too.
Of course, like the science communication is the same as this. And like SciComm is like my bullshit. What?
Yeah, it's like the good and the bad of being a presenter at a conference that you care about. It's like, yes, we're giving like quality content, but at the same time, you're like, but how much am I paying?
What are other stuff? The struggle is real.
But I feel like for the most part, over the 2 days, I always have two things that I want to do at the same time.
Yep, every time. Every time.
Yeah, and then it's like the dance of like, which one am I going to be more upset about missing?
Yeah. It's like, which one am I going to be more upset about missing in person? Because like
Yeah.
the recordings are available for most of it.
Yep.
So it's just like, okay, which ones aren't going to be person?
Yep.
I wish that they had that in the program as well.
Ooh, tell that.
Yeah, like now that I think about it, like it'd be nice to know which ones aren't going to be recorded. Because like those are the ones I'm going to prioritize.
Right.
And I know like next year, since we're going to be trying to have virtual options for
Right.
Texas, it won't be so much of an issue. Because I ain't going to Texas.
Well, I am, but
If it was in Austin, it'd be different.
yeah.
But Dallas, no. I won't do Dallas.
Yeah, I don't have a choice. Because I'm on the EB, so I have to go.
Yeah, you have to go. Yeah, I mean, my college will only send one person, so someone else gets a turn next year.
Lucky you. That's funny. Who else would go at your institution?
Our assistant director for the course, probably.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they refused to send her this year.
Why? Because they'll only send one?
Because we only have the budget for one person. But they were willing to send me with registration and hotel, and I went back and like, oh yeah, my registration's covered.
Yeah.
So we can send someone else. We can send Taja with us.
Right.
You pay her registration. She and I are going to share a hotel room. Literally no extra money. And they're like, right, we can only send one person. Our assistant dean of finance hates the course and wants to get rid of them. So she's been making our lives miserable since she started. And she doesn't feel like dealing with all the stuff with course. She wants to go back to the college or back to the departments rather than centralized. And she just doesn't like us in general. But we don't like her, so it's okay.
Yeah. You don't like me?
She's been reported to HR several times now because of her discrimination for disability. Because one of our core managers has breast cancer, is going through treatment. There's me with EDS and all of my neurodivergence, and then what is it? The assistant director for cores and also one of our core managers has fibromyalgia. So like we all have something.
Yep.
So we all have moments of we can't come to work because of disability.
Right.
She hates it.
That's super unfortunate.
And so like she will hold it. She has verbalized it. She will not put anything in writing. She verbalizes things. She's one of those. She also tells us to do illegal shit all the time. Because she's good at hiding things from people. But she refuses to put it in emails. It's only in verbal meetings. So we've all started taking notes.
I report this.
Yeah. Like, at this point, I'm just like, girl, you need to stop. I'm like, I'm not gonna. She's just like, we can just like allocate that to a different instrument to bring this rate down. I'm like, no, that's illegal.
Yeah.
Let's not do that. Actually,
Right.
that's against all of the rules. You
Yeah.
should know this.
Yeah.
How about you go to ABRF and go to the business skills workshop so you know how to do your job?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I've done that one. It was great.
It was good.
I sent one of my staff to that one last year because he's the one who's probably going to take my spot when I leave. So I'm just like, I need you to learn your business skills because he's got zero.
Ooh.
But he wants to be a manager,
Yeah.
and I want to support that. I'm like, I need you to start doing these things.
Yeah.
But then he like didn't go to a lot of sessions last year. I'm like, I'm not sending you to ABR. I I just kept finding him at the freaking casino. He's like best friends with my husband, and my husband was there. So those two were just hanging out. I'm like, no, you're here for work.
Right.
I'm paying you out of our budget to be here.
And you're also getting paid to be
And
here.
you're being paid to be here. So please,
Attend.
attend things. I don't want to see you in the casino. I'm like, it's okay for like every now and then
Yeah.
to pop down, but not for whole ass sessions.
Right. And like, Vegas had a decent program, but it wasn't great. And so like
Yeah.
I could see it, like I had a bunch of gaps where I'm like, oh.
Yeah, same. Yeah, and those that's when I went to the casino.
Right, right. But like you can't do the whole
He was
day.
skipping like the whole half of the day. And like there was one day like he maybe went to a single session. So it eventually got to this one's required for you to go to, this is required for you to go to, and I will be checking. And I'm just like, never mind. I am making your schedule now because
Right.
you're not.
You can't be trusted.
You can't be trusted, bud. Well, yeah, he and I had a talk after that. No, bud.
And this is
Can't
also
do that.
not how you become a manager.
I'm like, I can't advocate for you to be a manager because, like, my dean was just like, have you thought about making him an assistant manager so that way he has, like, some upward mobility?
Yeah.
Because right now we're all just kind of stuck. We don't have a good
Yeah.
tier system. And I was like, I would love to do that. He needs to work on a few things first.
Yeah.
Like getting his ADHD under control so he's not so spazzy. Because he can't finish things. He's one of those.
Oh.
And I have to check on him all the time. Like, I need you to figure out a way to keep yourself accountable for finishing tasks.
Right.
Because if you can't start doing that, you can't be the manager for this. Like, because my boss does not check on me ever.
Right.
Just assumes work's getting done.
Right. That's what you should do.
And that's what it should be. I don't like micromanaging.
Exactly.
I hate it. Like one of my staff, I see her once every 2 weeks.
Yep.
She's just off in another building doing her own thing. She'll send me an email every now and then with an update. Fantastic. Work's getting done. She's doing it. Great. The other one, it's constantly, what are you working on? What are you doing? Where's my report from the month ago? Where's my stuff?
That's it.
Yeah.
But we don't got time for that. We already got enough shit to do. Like, be an adult, do your job.
Yep.
I can go do mine.
He means well though.
Yeah.
Like, and he's a good worker.
When
He
you
when he remembers what he's supposed to be doing. And I mean, a lot of the issue is his meds are the ones that are hard to get right now. All the Adderall things does, and only name brand works for him.
oh.
So like all the generics don't work. He's tried them all. They don't work. So I know when he's on his meds because he gets stuff done. And then I know when he's off his meds. And I'm just like,
Ooh,
I need you to go take an extra dose right now, bud.
Yeah.
I need your short-term version going right now.
Yeah, my daughter was just diagnosed with ADHD. But like ADHD impulsive something. Like her ADHD is like lack of impulse control.
Okay.
So like she will just like she can't stop moving. So a lot of what you're
Yep.
describing. Like she can't sit still for a long time. She's got to like move her legs, or like even when she's like on tablet, like on her tablet, we got her a sensory swing, and she's like coming in like a wrecking ball on that thing. I'm like, honey, it's supposed to just like hold you, and she's like holding onto the ball over here and just like flinging herself across the room, and I'm like, babe, you can't do that.
That's a lot of me. Swings were like the best thing.
And then we got her, she does gymnastics, so we got her a bar for the house. And so now she's like a little monkey, and she'll put her legs up on the bar and like, you know, hang like this, and then put the tablet underneath her, and then just like randomly like kick and stuff. And I'm like, okay, whatever, honey, whatever. This feels like a lot more time than it felt like.
We can probably bring together at this point and discuss.
Ask how.
Select group.
I can ask her today. How's everybody doing? Good? More time. Okay. I'll give you some more time.
If they're having good conversations, who are we to stop?
Exactly.
That was how I did the session last year. I was like, you guys still talking? Great. Love that for me.
Well, there were other issues last year.
God. Like,
Is she here? I haven't seen her.
I saw her yesterday from afar. Tim meant so well.
I know.
But he's the one who picked who was going to chair that. Even though, like, it was initially my idea. And I'm just like, but Katya just like when she takes over, when she's in a conversation, she takes over.
Right.
So Tim only remembered her speaking. But I'm like, I was also part of that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a hard talking to with Tim after that. Because that was the year that both of us joined the EB.
Yeah.
And we all know I don't shut up.
Yep.
And like our whole next EB meeting was like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Who did this? Why did that happen? And he was like, oh, I thought I was, and I was like, the intentions were there,
Yep.
and they were positive, but that was not.
Not how you do that.
I was like, first of all, if it's DEIB related, bring it to me.
Yep.
And so that's why I pulled him on the council, because I was like, you
He
clearly.
means so well.
Yeah.
Like, and like, he means so well.
Uh huh.
So well. But like, yeah, I wanted that session to be completely different.
Yeah.
But I got overruled every step of the
We
way.
got another year.
Yep.
Just redo it properly.
Because like, I just wanted it to be like a storytelling, like
Right.
shared experience.
I
thing.
think is that kind of what flows is this year.
Yeah. Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see how that one plays out.
Yeah.
And maybe we can make it like that becomes like an annual thing. It's like new faces telling their stories.
Because like that's important to me.
Yeah. And clearly it's important to everyone.
Yeah. The fact that we have so many people in here for self-advocacy.
Right. And this isn't like everybody's just staring at us right now. Like what are we
No,
doing?
they're actually chatting.
Right. So yeah, I'm happy about it for sure.
Yeah. Because like self-advocacy is a hard skill.
Yeah.
If you don't do it, it's intimidating as all get out.
Yep.
Because like all my derby friends, they're just like, why do you speak up so much when there's a problem? I'm like, because we all know it's a problem
Right.
and it's affecting all of us.
And I'm
so,
the only one willing to talk about it.
and I'm willing to make myself the bad guy by bringing, yeah, everyone on leadership in my derby league, they're all afraid of me when I speak up in meetings. They're like, no, please no. I'm like, this is not a personal attack, I promise.
Right.
I'm like, but there is a fundamental issue here that we need to address. And guess what? They did, and the league has gotten so much better.
Yeah.
So
Good.
much better. I'm like, the way you're treating new skaters is not good. I need you to fix yourself. And
Fix
they're like,
yourself.
you know what? You ain't wrong. But did you have to call us out in front of everybody?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, because I was sending emails and you ignored them. So
I tried
Sorry.
the nice way, and
I
then I
tried
had to
the
do
nice
the public
way,
way.
I tried the nice way.
I used the whole 20 minutes. It makes me feel good. This is why I wanted to bring relational leadership here, and maybe that's what I'll start working on with the virtual series. Is like taking snippets of relational leadership,
Yeah.
because I think it's something that most people can't afford to go to.
Yeah.
But I think it's such an important skill,
It is.
especially in the world of the service industry. It's like, where do you know when you're right and they're wrong, or you should push back or they should, or how to make people feel comfortable in a situation. Like, I mean, most of our core staff are interacting with postdocs, grad students, PIs, administrators. Like, they should know what they're doing because they're like the nucleus of all of the things.
And then the science is like those skills aren't taught.
Right.
You're taught how to work in a lab. Sometimes you're taught how to give a presentation, but most of the time you're not. You just kind of figure it out.
Right.
And like, there's so much room for development there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, PIs are just like, no, what matters is the research. I'm like, no, what you need to have a good working environment,
Right.
and people need to know how to communicate with each other, because what's the point of science if you can't communicate it to
Right.
others and you can't communicate your needs?
Right.
There's no point in any of this.
Yep.
Every time I do one of these things, it reminds me of how much I hate being in the lab. How much I want to do more things like this. I
Yep.
just need to get better about speaking. But yeah, I really need a new job. There's one person whose job I'm eyeing, and I just need her to retire.
What's the job?
The assistant dean for inclusive excellence.
Ooh.
I want her job so bad. One, because I think she's horrible at it. She forgets that inclusion means more than race. I'm just like, girl, there's so much more.
Yeah.
She forgets that accommodations are free. Like, all I asked was, hey, can you make a virtual option for the staff retreat so people who are going to struggle to go in person can still attend because they want to? She's like, no, I know every single staff member in the college, and there's no one with mobility issues and all. I'm like, hi, my name is Sin. I have a disability that I don't tell you about, but it does affect my ability to move around. And here, I'm just like, hi, we're talking right now. I'm
Yep.
one of those.
Yep.
Sure enough, we
Yep.
get to that staff retreat. One of the other staff members who really struggles with mobility did go because he wanted to participate, and it was the only option he knew. And she came straight over to me. She's like, I apologize. I was wrong.
Good.
I'm just like, let's fix yourself though.
Good. No, that's good.
At least she came and apologized. I'm like, yeah, I know I was wrong.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm gonna get one of these ones.
Yeah.
Hello. It's me. So I picked up one of these mics. There's another one there if you want to walk up to it, but I wanted to just quickly sort of do a debrief. And I'll come to you. I got my tennis shoes on. What did you see as the issue or issues? If anybody's willing to speak up? No, just me. Cool.
Can you hear me? We identified, I guess, a little bit of siloing. So, the person in the scenario has an idea of what they think the issue is, but probably one of the first things that they need to do is figure out who it is that they need to talk to and try to seek some clarity because they're seeing it from their perspective. Maybe they need to understand, I don't know, the criteria for salary determinations and also who makes those decisions. So step one would be to talk to the right person, which might not be your colleague, the right person who can give them clarity on what are the criteria for setting salary in that scenario.
Anyone else have thoughts? It's very terrible.
One thing for that too is that if you really do feel like we were discussing, if you feel that there might be a way of trying to determine whether this was an intentional, I don't like this person but I like that it's one thing. It's like, am I being discriminated against, or is that person just his buddy, his favorite, or something like that? So it might not be a direct kind of, I hate those people. It might be more of a matter of, this is my golf buddy, which is not necessarily okay, but it does frame it a little differently, because then you might need to talk to, just like you would talk to people about, job qualifications or finance. You'd also talk to maybe HR about maybe other things that you could do, other paths you can take. But it might not be a matter of somebody needs to be punished for having done something against you in that sense. So it's kind of, you have to kind of figure out what you're actually dealing with. And if it's something that happens where it says, is it a pattern? There have been, we had different discussions here, like whether or not this was something that, like, this person never hires a person of color, this person never gives a promotion to a woman, that kind of a thing, versus, well, that was his golfing buddy. Maybe it isn't super fair, but he only did it at one time. I mean, like, it kind of, you want to know what you're dealing with so you have an idea about how to go forward. So, yeah.
So we came up with a couple of real world examples for us where it wasn't necessarily discrimination in that part. So Kylie had one where it was specifically they were hired at different levels due to the grant funding at the time of when that person was hired. And for my example was that it didn't have anything to do with that. It was purely based upon what their salary was when they were from their previous job when they were hired. I've seen people get hired for the same exact position in public health for 60 grand and 98,000. And that was just based upon what their previous salary was, not at all about what they were capable of or anything.
I'll echo that. I work for the state. Enough said. All right, so I'm going to kind of skip the risks and goals and talk about the strategy. So I know you guys had talked about, some of you that have commented around who do you go to, figuring out why there's a disparity. Is it your job description? Is it because the manager at the time was somebody else when they were hired versus when you were hired and they saw job duties differently? They saw your importance differently. Was it because you were promoted from a research technician to a research specialist, but because you were already underpaid as a research technician and you're only allowed to get a raise of so much, then you just are perpetually paid less than everyone else? It's great. Love that for us. So did anyone else have any other thoughts around next steps? Who would you go to? Where would you go? We had some really great ideas, so totally get it if you don't. Okay. Yes. You guys are making me love my life so much.
So I had a core staff member come to me who had been suggested for a promotion, but through administrative channels, her boss accepted a lower number and a lower title without asking her for any kind of feedback. So this person came to me, and I was able to, I'm a core administrator in my organization, and I was able to talk to her, understand what the issue was, and then I could take it to, central administration or management, HR even, without exposing who it is, ask some clarifying questions, and kind of understand what the next steps are from there. And that was actually it took a long time, but it's still working itself out over 6 months, but the outcome so far is really positive.
Just along the lines of strategy and the long timeline that can happen sometimes. So we talked a lot about the importance of documentation. So writing things down in the moment when something happens, and so that you kind of keep a record, since this could stretch out over months. But then also the idea of, emails can be a way of creating distance between the emotion and the actual facts of the situation. And we now have Copilot and ChatGPT to help us craft those emails in a way that's maybe more effective, right? So you can say what you're really thinking with all the emotion in it, but then tell the AI that you're actually needing to talk to this person, and this is your relationship, and please help me make this more professional. And pretty much everybody at this table has been using that approach.
I love AI, but I would need it to read my emails to me with less emotion. Just saying.
Okay, thanks. That's true. The AI really helps a lot on that. So for me, I have a scenario. It's for one of my core members. I was promoting him to be the lab director, and then we submitted everything to HR. And he wants to be promoted lab director. He's already a staff scientist. But then the HR, without asking me or anyone in our department, promoted him as a lab manager, he felt insulted because he did not want to be lab manager. He thought lab manager is for everyone. So he wanted to stay with staff scientists, but that did not get resolved. So the HR is totally different. It's a different universe. They do not talk to the scientist department part. And on the other hand, for the promotion for the other staff, so our college just got freeze, like promotion cannot promote because of NH. NH did not even do anything yet. I mean, they claimed they're going to do this, but they freeze everything for people. So what could we do with those situations other than just saying we are going to do our best for them on that? In terms of promoting for ourselves, I think I got advice years ago from my administrator as a faculty, said, you really need to go to talk to department. Says, okay, my salary is lower, I want to be up and halfway. She actually emailed me a national standard for my level. So I use that for my director says, okay, I'm already at this level, and then my salary is lower. I got my salary bumped up. So advocate for yourself.
I have a similar scenario as you. I want to promote my technician, Tech 1, is 5 years that is in that position and nobody promote him. I try to promote him, my boss is fine, but I have HR. And HR said, yes, it's 5 years that is here, but it's only 1 year that is in the new contract. So how do I deal with HR? How? I wish. I wish. And that is an, gap of salary, same thing for between the team as well.
Burn it down. 1 second, Flo, I'm coming to you. One thing I will say, and especially having had staff for a really long time in various roles, various levels, experience, whatever it is, transparency is key. So as a boss, as a supervisor, as a manager, if you're doing these things and HR is the problem, don't explain it to them as an excuse, but tell them, I am advocating for you. I am trying really, really hard. I've tried this, I've tried this, I've tried this. I'm not done, but I just want you to know that I have been trying. And for them, a lot of that is what they need to hear. And I think as managers, a lot of the time we're doing all this stuff in the background, but we're not really giving them updates. So to them, even if we've done 9,000 hours of work, they're like, but did you do anything? And you're like, hold my beer. Let me tell you all the things that I have done. And so I have always found as my own person to my supervisors and then as a manager to my staff is don't wait for them to ask you for the status. Don't wait for them to come to you and say, so I know a couple weeks ago we talked about this. Did anything happen? Make it a priority every time you meet with them. If there is an email that comes back that says now you have to, go find 4 4-leaf clovers and then find this perfect cloud, send it to them. Let them know. Like, I promise you, I'm doing this, and I'm willing to fight the good fight, but it's not always me.
Yeah. On the strategy front, if it's a union represented job, that's your first place to go. Talk to the union. They'll tell you who you should talk to next. I don't know that from experience.
Any core facilities on the union? Or any? How do we join the union?
Over there. You did have your hand up first. I'm so sorry.
So a lot of our conversations centered around equity checks. So all other things being equal, if there really truly is a lapse, you can seek out your manager and if necessary HR for an equity check to make sure that if there is something that needs to be altered, there's something they can do about it.
Because I got to talk and walk. this is also really important for core classifications. So if we actually have core classifications that are the same, we can actually compare across institutions. Isn't that weird? So weird.
So my staff I'm a core director, and my staff is unionized relatively recently. It wasn't so much, it was kind of a university-wide thing, so we were, by our job classifications, were caught up in that. And I did have my concerns about that as a supervisor. So before, our pay increases were merit-based, and yes, there can be problems with merit-based, because merit can be subjective, but it is a nice way to be able to reward somebody who's like a rock star performer, but it had its problems as well. So really quick, I had a situation where I had a rock star entry-level technician that I was advocating for like a 10%, which is big, a 10% salary increase with HR. And I got a hard no, you don't have the budget, it's not justified, blah, 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 blah. And like, she was really in danger of leaving, but I had an open position with a different job title, which she would have qualified for. So I advocated for her to apply for this newly open position, and she got it. And then HR came back and said that I have to give her a 37% increase, which I was like, well, bizarro world. Like, you just told me, I mean, great for her. It kind of bit my budget in the butt. But like, to me, even as a supervisor, that's a lack of transparency, because you're telling me there's no money, I don't have the budget, and like, I don't know, it was weird. So like, that was frustrating to me, because I can't be transparent with her if if it's like a black box. But now that we're in union, I was concerned about like the lack of the ability to reward for merit, but the criteria for salary are very, very clear. I can be very transparent about that, and it also gave me a little bit of an opportunity, because if I have, now also the job requirements are clear. So if I have somebody who's exceeding or meeting job requirements and I have somebody who's sliding along, I can say to the slider, look, your job says you have to do this, that, and the other, and so that's how I'm holding you accountable. And like, the union kind of supports on that, as long as I'm not like abusing it. So in a way, it's kind of benefited me with transparency, even as a supervisor, so.
I love all this, but I am only going to be able to give you one more scenario because I talk too much. We are happy to give these slides out so you can see scenario 3 if you want to, later to go home and, practice at home, because we all love to do that. All right, scenario 2 is a little bit longer, so I'm actually going to leave this one up for you guys to kind of read. Apologies that they gave us the tiniest screen that they have here. But as a scientific lead of a core facility, you've spent the past year working closely with a research group on a project that required developing a completely new workflow on that platform. The team and I designed experiments, helped interpret results, and met with the group regularly to troubleshoot and refine the approach. Recently, the PI shared a draft of the manuscript. My name appears in the acknowledgments, but not in the author list. When I asked about it, the PI said they typically treat core contributions as service work. Complicating things further, this PI is extremely well funded and brings a large amount of revenue to our core. They also sit on an advisory committee that helps shape the decisions for the shared resources at the institution. At the same time, I've noticed that when we represent the work in meetings, the PI often introduces the workflow as something that their lab developed, even though much of the technical innovation came from my team. As someone from an underrepresented background in my field, I already feel pressure to prove my expertise and maintain positive relationships with faculty who influence institutional decisions. I am proud of the scientific contribution my team made, and I want to advocate for proper recognition and authorship. But I'm also aware that pushing too hard could risk a relationship that supports the financial sustainability of the core and potentially my career trajectory. How should I handle this and continue to maintain the professional relationship, but also ensuring that I'm properly recognized? I bet none of you have ever experienced this. Like, not even once. All right, same framework as before. Talk amongst yourselves. We only have about 10 minutes left in this session, so ride that clock out as long as you want. And if you guys have questions about this one specifically afterwards, come find one of us. We're happy to talk, clearly. And we hope to see you again at another one of these. We're not leaving though. Oh, sorry.
Got it.
Yep. That was my biggest concern about that one because it was so long.
Yeah, but it's one, like, we've all dealt with that one.
Right. Did you go to the plenary this morning?
Yeah.
This very much aligns with like what she's trying to do and like elevating the technical expertise in a way that like nobody would even think not to put them in there. Julie and I were sitting next to each other in that meeting and we looked at each other like, we need this. We need to do this. Oh, sweet. The luncheon's after this. I don't even know what day it is or what time it is.
And it's so weird to have this start on a weekend.
Yep. It's really
It's
been messing
throwing
me up.
off. And then it's like, I realized on Friday when I got to work
Mm-hmm.
that if I didn't leave early on Friday, that I'd be working for like 9 days straight.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm gonna go home now.
Yeah.
You all deal with it.
Yeah. Gotta do some shit.
Like, I'm working all weekend.
Mm-hmm.
No, completely forgot.
Yeah. Because, well, it's always hard too with conferences, like depending on how people perceive the conference. They're like, is that really work?
Yes.
Yes, bitch. Do you know how much shit I come back with? How many to-do list items I've written?
It's like every time I go to this thing, I come back and tell you all the things we need to do differently
Mm-hmm.
and change. Because like after last year, we all started like I was just like we need to do better about accommodations.
Yep.
And all of that, and that's been the past year for us.
Yeah.
Especially because like one of our core managers.
Good.
Oh,
Of course. Yes, I'm very pleased. Well, we both are very
Yeah.
pleased with that.
So you got this scenario, I did not have a chance to. So the scenario, like we had exactly the same scenario.
Mm-hmm.
We had a secret grant from Texas. What we did is we made a rule. We had a document. So we have a meeting before a meeting when we distribute the data, so people know we put a lot of effort.
Mm-hmm.
We are asked to have paper to be reviewed.
Yep. Good. Yeah, so now that we're transitioning all of our cores to iLab, I've told all of them that on each one of their iLab invoices to put whatever acknowledgement specifically they want at the bottom of it. So every time they get one, they're seeing it constantly. And then for some of them, we've even put it on their landing page, like at the very top. Like,
So the acknowledgement and the authorship are two things.
yes.
I think this person talks about authorship.
Yep, you're right. You're right. Absolutely.
Share my thought with the audience.
Yeah, happy to. Here. You got to turn it on.
All right, I just want to share quickly my story about exactly this scenario, about the So this, a lot of things about core facility, it's acknowledgement, right? Many of us could get acknowledgement, but co-authors, I think the research investigators, they view us as a paid service. But it's actually, we're not a paid service. We subsidize them severely. So for us, when we got a separate grant from Texas, that subsidized everything, from instrument to people, and then to reagents. They pay a tiny little bit, but they did not know. They thought they still paid us. So what we did was we had an agreement in the beginning. We had a meeting, so we need to spend more time. We had a meeting in the beginning to show them step by step, how much time we're putting on, how much money. I say a blanket bottle costs $45. A slides cost $25. I need $400 for this project. So they can calculate how much money I'm spending for this. I need 2 months for 3 people to do this work. At the end, our grant asked us to have productivity, so we could get renewed. So actually, I think the majority of people, maybe 90% of people, put us as co-authors. But there's still a few people, they go behind of us. Actually, they do not even acknowledge us or anything. And one PI, he submitted a paper, got a lot of criticism come back. And then he said, I could not validate the data. I said, send your table to me. I can review, because a lot of people, for us, when the value is too low, they will not be, it's protein, they will not be able to validate by Western for sure. In this case, you really need to be very careful. So I talked with them at my closing up meeting when I reviewed the data. Everything was clear, but it's very hard for statisticians and people to remember that. But this PI, he just never emailed me. So I think he did not want to put us on as co-authorship. At the end, when I met him many times, he was just upstairs. I said, let me check with you. I could check the quality. He just did not. I think at the end, the paper actually was not published because the reviewer questioned their quality. So I told the PIs, I want to be accountable for my own technology, right? Because of course, I did not say when you submit it, maybe if something goes wrong, you do not know the technology for this scenario. Actually, all the technology is developed by us. Another thing I think for this group, maybe you don't share too much detail about the technology with them in the beginning. But the key is, I think, to let them know in advance all the details we do, and then they will be at least sympathetic, says we did a lot of work. Thanks. Thanks for the microphone.
Didn't she also want to do these women's?
She was on pins.
No, but like for this year, wasn't she trying to push?
She really wanted to do it.
A women's social or women's happy hour or something like that.
It's like get us. Yeah, it's like I don't think you get the fun of the toy show.
Yeah. I think that's what I think I've like come to within the DEI committee is like in general, it's trans, non-binary, gay, and then there's race and gender. But like, there's so much more. But because that's our cohort of humans.
That's because you only know your own experience.
Right.
And so like that's what we all think about is the stuff that we deal with on a daily basis.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why it's like the assistant dean for inclusive excellence, like she's a black woman, and that's why she was hired into that position in the first place. She's been in that position for a long time, and so like that's why she keeps just focusing on race.
Yeah.
And she, like, don't get me wrong, her programs that she's developed with that are amazing.
Right. But
Other
that's not the only
universities
thing.
are modeling their own programs off of ours. They're fantastic, but there's more to it.
Yep.
There's more to inclusive excellence that she just forgets.
Mm-hmm.
And then she forgets who she should talk to about certain things.
Yeah.
Because she keeps asking one specific person, and she's just like, I'm not the one you need to talk to. You need to go talk to Sin. Sin's the one who comes up with all this. Like when it comes to like those accommodations, I'm not the one you need to talk to. Go talk to Sin. Never talks to me. I'm like, I know how to make captions on PowerPoint. Just ask me. I know how to do it.
Right. It's interesting how, and for good or for bad, that, the people that tend to speak up about these types of things are probably not, like, I always feel like the people that are willing to advocate tend to be the people who have now gotten out of being part of the marginalized community.
Yep.
And then it's like the next one. And then they have to go through that struggle to come back out on the other side and be like, okay, now we need to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I do think somebody brought up the other day in one of my meetings, I don't remember, about doing more around neurodiversity.
Mm-hmm.
Just because there are a high percentage of neurodiverse people in science. And so that might be something we want to kind of like start pre-planning for next year or even the next one, since I know some of the committees have early next year.
Yeah.
Is like, okay, let's start planning out some content around
like that's what, because like I'm doing the next webinar, I think. It's workplace accommodation.
Yep.
So like some of it's going to be one of my colleagues talking about website accommodations because that's like a big topic. But the rest of it I was going to do like kind of more focused on like in the lab accommodations, particularly around neurodiversity.
Yeah.
Because like that's one thing that I stress the most in my lab is we're all neurodivergent in that lab. We all have our own accommodations, and I'm very upfront about mine.
Right.
Because I'm like, if the person in charge doesn't set the example, then other people don't understand that they can do it too.
Right.
So like, if you want them to be able to come to you and ask for things, you need to show them that it's okay.
Yep.
By telling them also that you have accommodations that you might need.
Absolutely. I'm just gonna put up a slide with the QR code.
Yeah. In 301, 303. Okay. Sorry.
No, it's not on this. Oh, you didn't pull the most recent one, did you?
Yeah,
We're gonna
I think
put it
I'd
up on
said
other
it
things.
before.
Oh,
We had the QR code.
Hello, hello. It's lunchtime. You are more than welcome to continue talking. I'm not rushing you to eat food. But the DEIB luncheon is actually right next door. So food, community, conversations, you are more than welcome to come hang out with all of us, or you can go and have lunch with the other us's.
It's just never enough time.
Yeah. Well, and especially when you have a good group and a good
It was
conversation.
a good big group.
Yep. And people were engaged. And so when that happens, it's like you want to keep engaging.